Hey guys, this is Rachel from Cypress Textiles, and today I'm going to show you how to make half Hexie B from the 2022 Vibrant Vintage Crochet Along, or VVCAL. So first I'm going to chain 3 and slip stitch in the third chain from the hook to make a ring. And then straight into the ring I'm going to make a beginning double crochet. So just make a single crochet and chain 1. And then chain 1 again for my corner chain space. And then I'm going to make a 2 DC cluster, yarn over, insert the hook, and draw up a loop. Pull the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, if I can, 2 times. All right, draw the yarn through all 3 loops, and that's your 2 DC cluster. Now chain 2, 2 DC cluster, chain 2, 2 DC cluster, and now chain 1 and DC. All right, so you've got 2 double crochet, 1 at the beginning, 1 at the end, 3 2 DC cluster, and 4 chain spaces, a chain 1 space, 2 chain 2 spaces, and a chain 1 space. Now I'll turn my work, and in the first stitch I'm going to make beginning double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochet in the first chain space. Now I'm going to make a chain 1, and then my corner is going to be 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC. Okay, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC, and chain 1. Make my next corner, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC, in the next chain space. All right, and then chain 1, 2 DC in my final chain space, chain 1, and then double crochet in this final stitch. Okay, so that is row 2. You can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chain 1 spaces. I'm going to turn my work, beginning double crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, 2 double crochet in the first chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 double crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and then 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC in the next chain 1 space to make my corner, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC in the next chain 1 space. All right, chain 1, 2 DC in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC in my next chain space to make my corner, chain 1, 2 DC in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and 2 DC in the final chain 1 space, chain 1, DC in the final stitch. Okay, so here is row 3. Let me turn my work, beginning double crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, okay, 2 DC, first chain space, and then you're going to chain 1, 2 DC in the next chain space 3 times, okay, make sure that you chain 1 in between your 2 DC groups there. All right, and we're in our corner, so we have 2 DC, chain 1, 2 DC for the corner, chain 1. Okay, 2DC, chain 1, 2DC, and we're working in the chain spaces here because this is like a granny hexagon. And then 2DC, chain 1, 2DC in the corner. Okay, here's what we have so far. All right, so we've got each side has these two 2DCs, and then the corner has 2DC, chain 1, 2DC here. Okay, so you can take a screenshot so you can see how it's supposed to look so far if you'd like. And then we're here, so we're gonna chain 1, 2DC, the next chain space, chain 1, 2DC in the next chain space, chain 1, and 2DC in the final chain space. And now chain 1 and double crochet in your final stitch. All right, so here's how we look for the full row. And now I'm ready to turn my work. And this row is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have fewer chain spaces because we're going to bring it back down to size a little bit. So make your beginning double crochet in the first stitch and chain 1, and then 2DC in the first chain space. Okay, and now without chaining 1, you're just going to 2DC in the next chain space, and then 3DC in the next chain space without chaining in between. The 3DC here is just to maintain our stitch count. 2DC in the next chain space, and make your next one a corner, which is 2DC, chain 1, 2DC in the next chain space. Okay, so there's how this first side looks. And I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna make 2DC, 3DC, 2DC, and my next corner, 2DC, chain 1, 2DC, and then repeat that again until we get to this final corner, and I'll show you how to finish it off. All right, here is my third to last row, and I'm nearly finished with it. I've made 2 double crochet in this final chain space, and I did my chain 1, and now I'm just going to double crochet in the final stitch. Did I get it there? There we go. Okay, so now I have 2 more rows of single crochet. So I'm just going to turn my work and then start by actually skipping the first stitch and making single crochet in every stitch and space around. And we're just going to skip the first stitch, and we're also going to leave the final stitch unworked. And otherwise, you're just going to be making 1 single crochet in every single stitch and space across. Okay, when you get to that final double crochet, you're just going to turn without working it. And you've skipped the first and last stitch. And even in these corners, you'll just make 1 single crochet. All right, that's my second to last row complete. I've worked my final single crochet in the last chain space and then left the final DC unworked. Now I'll turn, and in the first stitch, I'm gonna make 2 double crochet. And then just, I'm sorry, did I say double crochet? I meant single. 2 single crochet in the first stitch, and then single in every stitch across till I get to my next corner. And you can tell your next corner by the single crochet that is in a V. So it's in the chain 1 space, and that's your corner. And so just be careful not to pass it up, and just do 3 single crochet in that stitch, then singles all the way across to the next corner, and then 3 single crochet in the corner once we get there. so this is our single crochet that's in the chain space. So that's the corner one, make 3 singles in there. And then just finish off by working single crochet in every stitch across until you get to the final stitch where you will place 2 single crochet. All right, so I'm very nearly finished with the row. Just a couple more single crochet and then 2 single crochet in your final stitch. All right, and then just break the yarn, pull it through, and then weave your ends, and that is the end of half hexagon B from the 2022 VVCAL. So here's half hexagon A and half hexagon B. All right, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will see you all for the next one. Bye guys.